Hi there, my name is Max Kennedy. I'm a staff member with the Democrats. This is our training video on the back end of ThruText. We'll walk through the ThruText user interface, what features are available, and what ThruText really enables us to do. For those who haven't used ThruText before, ThruText is a website that we use in order to send messages, text messages, to voters at scale. It allows us to enable volunteers and our staff to send messages directly to voters using campaign-provided phone numbers, so personal phone numbers remain anonymous, and to collect survey information, to offer scripts to guide these conversations, and to monitor the text messages and track our success over time. This is ThruText, so this is the back end of ThruText. If you were sending on a campaign, you would see a different screen focused on sending text messages. This is what the view is when we're actually overviewing the program, when we're looking into the back end of campaigns. This in particular is a specific campaign, and this is where we'll start the video and talk about what information on specific campaigns is really available and what the different kind of view options are here. So this is the backend training test campaign built specifically for this video. You can see, and we'll walk through the information on the screen and what it means about the campaign. So you can see here the status is active and it has this green dot. What that means is that this campaign is ready to be sent. If there are volunteers assigned to the campaign and they have conversations, you are fully able, without us doing anything, to send those texts and engage in those conversations. The other potential options here would be to paused, which is an active campaign that we've pressed pause on, and everything remains exactly the same, but no one will be able to send text messages while it's paused. It could also be archived, where we basically end the campaign, it moves into an archive. It can't be unarchived, so that campaign is essentially over. And then it can also be in draft mode. So before we launch a campaign, before it's assigned phone numbers, while we're still tinkering with it and editing the script, et cetera, it will be in drafts. That's where campaigns are built. And if this were a yellow dot and it said draft, that would mean it's a full campaign. It might have its own script and its own list, but we can't assign senders and we can't start sending yet. So backend training test is the name of this campaign. Each campaign will have its own name. Different programs will have their own naming conventions. I'm guessing it's probably not all in caps backend training test, but we're able to name our campaigns whatever we would like. Here is the URL. You'll see where it says admin, that means we're in the backend. And this set of numbers at the end is the unique identifier for this campaign. So no matter where we head on this page, to recommended replies, to surveys, to senders, it'll take us to different pages, but this unique code will stay the same. And this is the unique identifier for this campaign. Every campaign will have its own unique code, and every unique code will point specifically to a campaign. Here we can see the initials window, October 11th, 2020 to October 12th, 2020. This is now long in the past, so we wouldn't be able to send out new initials in this campaign. The dates here restrict when we're able to start new conversations. That's what we mean by initials window. So that initial message that we send out to start the conversation can only be sent between October 11th, 11:32 a.m. and October 12th at 12 p.m. So if we want a campaign to be active, we always want to make sure that the present moment is somewhere in between these first and second dates. However, once a conversation has started, we're able to continue the conversation as long as we would like until that campaign is archived. Test, this is just the description of the campaign. In most cases, it would be longer, potentially point to a script. We can see 5 senders messaging 260 contacts. 5 senders just means we have 5 individual people assigned to this campaign who are able to send text messages. Each campaign has its own group of senders, which can change, but its own group of, always at any moment, has a list of people who are able and authorized to send texts on that campaign. It has its own script, which we'll talk through. It will have its own surveys and survey questions. So we can say, track things like, who does this voter support? Are they willing to volunteer? How would they like to volunteer? Have they registered to vote? And it will have its own list of voters that we've uploaded. So each campaign is associated with a specific list of voters that we're looking to contact. And we'll talk through all of those things in more detail. Times, you see 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and US Eastern. US Eastern is just the time zone. 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. is the message sending window. So this is every day, regardless of the initials window, we're only able to send text from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As we're building the campaigns, all of this is adjustable. Regions is where we draw the phone numbers from. So let's say I were a voter and I were on this campaign, I was in the list. The fact that this is US all means when I receive the text, the area code could be from anywhere in America. If we were running, let's say, a campaign in Pennsylvania, we might pick regions Pennsylvania, and it will draw area codes and phone numbers specifically from Pennsylvania. Self-assignment, in this case, is on. We have another assigning video, which you can check out to learn more about self-assignment. But essentially, when someone is added to a ThruText campaign as a sender, and they're able to send text messages, they are authorized to send text, but they don't have specific conversations that are assigned to them. We can do that in two ways. We can go into the conversations window, which we'll talk about in a second, and reassign conversations to that specific person that they'll now own and be able to, engage with the voter, send text and receive text on. Or we can turn on self-assignment, which enables voters to press request conversations, which is a pink button. When they press that button, they'll receive a batch of 300 contacts, and they'll start those conversations and continue those conversations. Campaign sender invite link. If I were to follow this link, this is a ThruText feature that will add me as a sender directly to the campaign. So if I were in this campaign, if I followed this link, in this case, this campaign, the initials windows in the past, if it were current, I would see the request conversations button. This is what a sender would actually see. This means that I've been added to the campaign just by clicking on that link. Targeting, we start with people in group 10, 10, 20, Serena CU. So this is the actual list. This is a CSV, comma separated something. It's basically like a spreadsheet of phone numbers, names, etc. This is the specific list that's been uploaded to ThruText and then affiliated with this campaign. So everyone we're texting on this campaign will be in this list specifically. Then we see the options to pause, archive, export, or clone. Pausing, we can just press, it'll just stop texting. We can make changes if we need. Unpause makes it go back to active. Archiving will permanently close this campaign. We won't do that right now. Export will send out a spreadsheet, showing some of the key statistics about the campaign, metrics that ThruText is tracking. And cloning a campaign will build basically a carbon copy of this same campaign without the list, so that if we were running many similar campaigns, we could press clone in order to build multiple. And we'll walk through the build process as well. Analytics is just some key replies, follow-ups, and then senders here is a list of senders. We can remind them to follow up or thank them for sending. Survey responses, this campaign doesn't have any surveys, and the initial message is just test. So we'll walk through a little bit so I guess quickly, we can press recommended replies. Here is the script. In this case, there isn't a script built, but let's say we had a volunteer yes, thanks for volunteering, and we're able to adjust these even while the campaign is active. So this volunteer yes, immediately if someone was on the campaign, they would see this as an option to send. They would see volunteer yes as a script title, and if they clicked on it, the words "thanks for volunteering" would appear as the next message to send out, and then they would, they could edit that and then send it out. If we wanted to use custom fields, we could say, this is the thank you message. Thanks so much, and then we could do first name. Thanks so much, first name. You can see the preview here. Thanks so much, Sabrina. First name is a field in the list, so it's just going to pull whenever we're texting someone. It will pull that field. In this case, Sabrina. And allow us to send text messages targeted towards that specific voter. So this is the recommended replies. For a populated campaign, you'd see potentially a very long list of all of the script options we've made available for this particular campaign. On the sender's view, we see self-assignment, which we spoke a little bit about. Again, turning this on or off will enable users or disable users from being able to directly request a batch of conversations. Batch sizes vary by program. For us, we happen to use 300 initial messages, which means if someone presses request conversations, it gives them 300 conversations that volunteer now owns. If self-assignment is off, we have to do manual assignment, which we'll walk through in a second. Campaign sender invite link. This is that link I just showed you in ThruText that enables you to add yourself to the campaign just by clicking on it, or to send out to volunteers so they can add themselves. If this is enabled, that link will be functional. If not, no link will be generated. This is the view in order to add specific senders. So this top box is a list of all of the people who have ThruText accounts on our program. This second box is a list of all of the folks who are on this specific campaign. So unless you're added to a specific campaign, you won't have access to it as a sender. So in this case, I can remove myself. Oh, my sub-conversation resign. I'll remove Carolina. If I wanted to add Carolina back, I could search for her name, press this plus sign, and you can see she's immediately added as a sender here. That means she'll have, I removed her by accident. That means she'll have access to the campaign and be able to send text messages. I'll just press save. The conversations view allows us to go through, you'll see a list of senders on the left-hand side. And if you click on any one of these senders, you'll see all of the conversations assigned to that sender. And you can actually see the individual text messages that have been shared back and forth. In this case, we haven't started this campaign. These are just dummy data. But if there were a conversation, you would see all of the messages here. We can use this view to review conversations that are happening, to ensure people are staying on script, to ensure we're capturing surveys, to ensure opt-outs are honored. And in fact, we could opt someone out just by clicking here if we needed to on the back end, if we noticed a missed opt-out. So again, you can see a list of all of the senders on this campaign. You can see the individual conversations that are happening. We're also able to reassign conversations in this view. So for instance, this is unassigned. These are all the conversations who don't have an owner, or which don't have an owner. So if I reassigned some of these, I could type in any number. I could say 10. So this will reassign 10 conversations. Status needs reply will reassign conversations where the voter reached out to us and we haven't sent a message back yet. Not started will reassign messages which the initial was never sent, so the conversation hasn't started. So in this case, we can do not started to, let's say, Max Kennedy. If I press reassign, you can see that 60 conversations next to my name just jumped up to 70. And so I was able to reassign to myself. If 70 is too many messages for me and I can't handle it, I could reassign some. I could reassign half, 35, status, any, to Carolina, press reassign, and you can see, if you look in this corner, I now have 35 and Carolina now has 35. This can be really helpful. Let's say there's a language barrier where someone doesn't speak the same language as one of our volunteers. We could go in and specifically reassign an individual conversation to someone else to make sure that voter is able to speak in whatever language they would prefer to a volunteer who also speaks that language. If someone is no longer volunteering with us or is done for the day, but we still want to respond, we could reassign, let's say reassign some, status needs reply. And then we could reassign all the conversations where we need to reply to the person to a volunteer who's still active. Let's say, maybe I'm done for the day, but Elise is still on. This, I could press reassign and it would reassign all those conversations to Elise. In this case, none of them need reply because none of the conversations have started, but this allows us to move conversations between senders so that if you're in the senders window, again, looks like this, you'll be able to, whoever is the new owner will be able to carry on those conversations with a totally seamless experience for the voter. Really quickly, we'll show you a couple of other features. So groups are the lists that we're uploading to these campaigns. So if I were to create a new group, I could call it 1020 test group. The process is pretty simple. Next, upload group list. We'll have to have a CSV on hand. In this case, I know this is a CSV. First name, it's identified that the column named first name is the first name, last name, phone number. Next, these are custom fields, which we could use. Let's say there were links that varied by voter and were in the file, in the list itself, or we wanted a state code. We could then select, here, there's state. Next review. And if I press create group here, it will then upload this group. It will take a little bit of time to upload. You can see all the numbers going up. This is how we actually upload lists in ThruText. Then if I wanted to build a campaign, I'd go to campaigns, create new campaign. I could do test campaign. Type out any kind of description. Select the time zone, here US Eastern, the initials window, the daily open hours, which we already spoke about. Select the regions, any kind of, basically to select the area codes. This will draw from all of Arizona. And then if there's no numbers available, South California, and then next Colorado. Then we would upload the list, in this case, 1020 test group. And if I press set base segment, that will upload the list. I can then go through and create the list. I can turn on self-assignment, write out an initial message. Hi, first name. You can see it's just pulling automatically from the first name in that list, Joelle. If I typed in, are you from state code? It'll pull in Washington since Joelle's in Washington. Recommended replies is where we would add all the scripts. Here, yes, thanks for volunteering. We would do this for every response that we wanted to be a part of the script. We could add any survey questions by typing in questions or adding global surveys, which have already been written. And then at the end, can press launch to change the campaign from draft to active. While it's draft, no text messages can be sent out. We can always go back and change anything about the campaign. I could replace this list if I needed to. Sometimes the list takes a minute to load, but I could change the area codes, change this list to a different list if I had made a mistake. And then once I'm ready, I can go to review, press launch, and the campaign will become active. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for being a part of this effort. I really, really appreciate it, and hope you found this video helpful. Thank you so much and take care.